Okay, welcome to another quick chat with one of our Demo Night winners. I'm Sam Steele. I'm an entrepreneur in residence at City St George's University's Venture Hub. We're an inclusive startup support system in the City of London, and we provide lots of free support for any aspiring entrepreneurs and startups. And one of our flagship events is our monthly Demo Night. We celebrated our first anniversary of holding Demo Night every second Wednesday of every month. We're supported by international startup networking group Canopy, and as always, founder of Canopy and Demo Night host Stuart Nates is here. Stu, remind us what Demo Night is about.
Oh, that's a good question, Sam. I do love a good demo night. I've been doing this for a decade now, and it's all about how people learn together. So the number one reason that startups fail is because we build stuff that people don't want or need. And the point of the room is, here's a place where you can get help from critical friends, really seeing around the corners and understanding if what you're building is something useful for people. And sometimes, you're building it and it's blue, and your target customers in the audience, they say, blue's lovely, but I'm not going to buy it until it's purple. And if you just make it purple, I'll buy 1,000. And when you finally hear that moment, you've suddenly unlocked the value of the whole startup. But it's really dissolving that number one issue, that we build stuff that people just don't care about.
Brilliant, thanks, Stuart. And I can see you nodding along, Rita. So Rita Kastrati is our People's Choice winner from our big first anniversary Demo Night bash. You've got a really high Net Promoter Score. You're the founder and CEO of a brilliant job board called Pioneering People, which you describe rather brilliantly as if Hinge and Uber had a baby. So Rita, welcome, and tell us more about your Hinge Uber baby.
Thank you very much, and thank you for a wonderful intro and a fantastic evening at the Demo Night this week. So, as mentioned, yes, we are a matchmaker, connecting companies to instant temporary staff. So I grew up in the hospitality world, and the number one biggest pain point was getting staff as and when we needed them. If somebody called in sick or we had an incredibly busy weekend, we really struggled to find staff that had the right to work, could be there in minutes, and actually had fantastic ratings and could do the job. So through those kind of pain points, I said, well, why don't I create something that does that? And that's exactly what we did. So that's essentially what Pioneering People does. Our platform does all of the right to work checks, ID verification and bank verifications, whilst also being a social good platform. So you may know that gig economy workers in the UK really struggle. There's no legislation around kind of minimum wages when you're self-employed. So we've made sure that everybody earns above living wage on the platform and also gets paid within 24 hours of completing their shifts.
Brilliant. I mean, it's no wonder that you won by a country mile, I would say. There was a bit of stiff competition from one of our other demo nights, but then you just streaked ahead into the lead. So this was people voting in the audience as to which their favourite pitch of the night was. And I think you can explain it so succinctly that it really makes a big difference. What stage are you at? When did you launch Pioneering People?
So we launched in January last year. So it's been about a year and a half, which is crazy because obviously it feels like ages. In startup years are similar to dog years, where every day feels like a week, but in a fantastic way, where every hour, every minute of what we're doing, we're learning, we're building, and we're trying to do something new and really create something that is good for society, for people, but also for the businesses that we engage with. So quite early-ish on, but we've done a pre-seed round and are growing our little team, so we're getting there.
That's really, I mean, you've done a lot of work in a year and a half. How many paying users do you have?
So we have over 60 businesses on the platform, and we have over 5,000 workers. And the people who pay us are the businesses per every shift that goes through the platform.
That's great. So tell me about your early journey then. How did you get your idea out of your head and into a kind of minimum viable product stage?
Fantastic question, and one which I think every startup has a different journey of how they get there. For us, it was really important to really understand, is this what other people want, or is it just a pain point that we've always had? And we, is myself and two co-founders. So a lot of chatting, whether it's through WhatsApp messages, in-person chats, just speaking to people that own businesses, that run businesses that have had that problem before, but also to your average person, from students, people that have kind of young graduates that have okay wages, but are still kind of struggling to pay their bills and any other life expenses that they have, and really getting an understanding of what their pain points are, what they want, but also then what they really need. So kind of gathering all that feedback, making sure that our product fits in. We're building for what people want rather than building and then begging people to use it. And then actually, because I've been in the fintech space now for over 4 years, working with a couple of developers that I've kind of met in my time of the fintechy world, and building an MVP that kind of works. And it wasn't the most beautiful or the most smooth product in the world, but we just knew that practice is better than getting to absolute perfection. So we launched it out there, put it out there in the world and said, if you have time, use it, and let us know what you think. So quite scrappy along the way, but my number one thing is that we listen to every single customer, whether they're a cleaner cleaning an office or a business owner that runs a bar. We wanted to hear what everybody had to say and really just make sure that we're right on track with what they want.
So I think that sounds like a really, really strong way to start any idea, is to do a lot of research. How much time do you think you spent in your data gathering phase?
Oh, wow. I mean, we started working on this at least a year and a half before we launched in January. So quite a long time. We also just wanted to make sure that we had everything set, not just from the research side, but also from the legal side, and then also on the education side. A big part of Pioneering People, when we say we're a social good platform, it's not just the money part, but we want to make sure that we have resources that really educate the people that use our platform. So we've done a couple of partnerships with people like Go Simple Tax and The Curve that teach people how to do their taxes and teach them a little bit more about basic financial literacy, which a lot of us are quite illiterate in, as it's not taught enough in schools. So really making sure we've got the full picture before we got out there.
Stu, you coach a lot of startups and entrepreneurs. Is what Rita's saying about the amount of time and effort and energy they put into researching and talking to their potential customers, do you think enough startups spend the time doing that?
Nobody can spend enough time doing it, but part of the pressure that you have at this stage is that you can only do as much as you can afford the time of. And the fact that Rita was able to put it together like that was pretty impressive. She also starts from the best point of entrepreneurship for me, which is I love to see entrepreneurs basically solving problems for themselves and then finding other people that look like them and solving it for them. And then you start to see people adjacent to you as demographics and whether or not they're interested, and suddenly you've got a business. But the ball game, the absolute ball game, and the reason that Demo Night exists is that you've got to keep listening to your customers, right? This broad church that we put in place is about giving that eclectic feedback. But when you get this desirability bit right, you've got three things in design thinking to think about: desirability, feasibility, and viability. When you get the desirability right, you've solved the biggest problem. It's the root cause of 40% of all the failures of startups is absolutely not doing it right. And everything, I would encourage anybody to do what Rita's doing. But if you can only afford 6 weeks of interviews with people, then only do 6 weeks, but never stop doing it. Because now what Rita can do is she can talk to everybody that joins the platform about why they've joined and how to help them. Everybody that leaves the platform about why they've left and is there anything she could have done to fix it. And everybody that uses it more to find out why it's being really useful this month. And everybody uses it less to find out why they're not using it as much as they did before. And just keep doing that all the time. You just can't do enough of it.
I completely agree. And if I just add to that point, Stuart, in terms of how much you can afford, I think a lot of people think when you start a startup, you have to go all in, cancel everything in your life, from family to friends to your job. And I just have never really agreed with that. I think because I've just been somebody that's always had a side hustle, I've been used to doing a couple of things at once. So that would be like a number one. And perhaps, maybe not the right or the traditional thing that an entrepreneur would say, but, if you're not 100% sure in your startup yet, it's completely fine to stay in your job that you love, that pays the bills, and making sure that you get that research along the way. So it doesn't have to be a full-time thing until you're quite sure, and then you can kind of delve in there.
Great advice. And I also note that, Rita, that you've got 2 co-founders, haven't you?
Yes.
And what is it, Stu, that you always say you need a salesperson?
So the starting paradigm for this stuff is a visionary, an order filler, and a technologist. And the archetype between them all is the visionary will wander around for ages in circles if you let them. The technologist wants to make something perfect, and the order filler just wants to do their numbers. And it's the tension between the three of them that makes something truly special.
Rita, do you think your two partners fall into one of those categories? In fact, which one would you be, the visionary, the order filler, or the technologist?
I think I'm definitely the visionary, and I think because I'm doing it out of complete love and passion, and I think you can tell. Anyone that speaks to me about my startup, they're like, okay, calm down, because I've had that problem my whole life on both ends, as a worker and as a business owner. So I could just run around in circles, like Stu just said, forever and ever, and just be like, oh, another idea, let's do this. Whereas, one of my other co-founders, definitely technologist, wants to make sure the tech is perfect and get it out there. The other one just wants to get stuff going. So actually, I hadn't heard of that trio, but now that I have, it fits into us three quite perfectly. So that's great.
But there you go, Stu. The proof of the pudding is in Rita's company. So you actually have demoed your product at Demo Night before. You did it last December. What we did, because we were having a first anniversary bash, we invited some of our favourite demo people and some of the People's Choice winners to come back and have a sort of a best of the best. So tell me, when you first demoed in December, what was your experience like compared to last Wednesday?
I think last December, I was kind of like, I'm just going to go there and get it out there and tell people what I'm doing. And even if I get a little bit of interest and people are actually looking at what I'm saying, that's great. Whereas I think, from Wednesday, it was just, my aim was captivate everybody in the audience, really get some feedback, and actually understand if everybody from the investors to perhaps the students in the room actually cared. So I think confidence has definitely grown in the last couple of months. And I definitely think that's up to do with, we surpassed our revenues that we did last year in the first 3 months of this year. One, and two, it's just, we really feel like we've now getting to the next step where we've had a year of kind of MVPing and getting out there. And now we really want to understand how can we grow and how can we really skyrocket everything that's going on. So yeah, I think December was a lovely and very kind, and I think a little bit of a smaller audience, whereas Wednesday, obviously being the first anniversary, was a lot bigger. I would say more intimidating because it was a very big stage, but definitely enjoyed that and definitely needed that to make sure that we have all of our ducks in a row and actually can show what we've been up to since then.
Have you done any other type of pitch events? There's loads of pitch events happening in London every night of the week. Have you pitched at any other types of events?
I haven't actually. A lot of other talks that I've done have kind of been more generalist and more about founder life and less focused on the product. And I think that's why perhaps this was so important, because it really just made sure that every single part of the platform was working perfectly, but also working in a way that is not just there for the sake of it, but actually makes sense to the audience. So I hadn't done something like this before, but definitely needed it and definitely really enjoyed it.
Brilliant. I mean, because you did a live demo of your platform, which is always hair-raising when you're relying on Wi-Fi and then the tech to work, and it all worked seamlessly and looked great. What do you think the value is for entrepreneurs to get the feedback from the mixture of people that we tend to get in our demo night audience?
I think sometimes as a founder, not you always, but you typically go to people that you know, friends, family, and perhaps a couple of customers that you've already created that bond and that relationship with. So naturally, perhaps they're going to be a little bit kinder to you, or they've heard about it so much that they also then don't see the mistakes. And this is what I was speaking about with my developer. Like, we can do QA all day, every day, but sometimes we'll miss a mistake because we just see it all the time and we know what it should be. But actually showing it in front of people that perhaps have never heard of us before, the feedback they can give is invaluable because they don't know the whole backstory. They've heard me speak for 1 minute and then demo for 4 minutes. They don't know the ins and outs. So it's absolutely valuable to have people that are not as in the loop as you are, and can kind of provide you with a complete outsider's perspective.
Yeah, I mean, Stu, what would you say about the audience that we get at Demo Night? What sort of
Well, they're a curious and abnormal bunch, that's for sure. We're very deliberate in inviting a really diverse group of people, and obviously there's people from the university, and that includes students and faculty and stuff, and that's undergraduates and postgraduates. But London is a great place to find many people from many walks of life, and that's what we want coming through the door. the whole event is zero barrier to entry. You know, this is about whether you've exited on 500 million, you're all about the ecosystem, or you've walked by and you've just kind of seen there's a sign and you've walked in to see what's going on. You get the same treatment when you walk in the door, because we want all of the views to be coming out. And that's the power of it. We've been doing this for a decade. We've been doing this in America. We've been doing this in India, all sorts of places. And it's the same powerful equation every time, that the people contribute to each other, bring up the arguments and the discussions and the things in the room, and really help people progress through their ideas.
Yeah, and we do spend 2/3 of the time is actually networking after the demos. So it's about an hour of demos and a couple of hours of drinks and pizza, if you're lucky. And networking. Rita, did you get a chance to network with anybody in the room?
I actually, the second I got off stage, I had 4 messages on LinkedIn for people in the audience, which was absolutely incredible. And on our last demo night, I met lots of people that have actually used it before. And the funniest thing which happened on Wednesday was when I had a dinner last night with a small community I've started called 15 Under 30, which is 15 founders meeting under the age of 30. Somebody who had bought a ticket to come actually was in the audience on Wednesday, which was just the most mind-blowing thing. Showed how small the startup ecosystem is, but also how necessary demo nights like this are, because she was just like, I didn't even realize that you ran this community, and I saw you 1 night ago. We didn't manage to chat then, but we managed to have a really lovely chat yesterday. So yeah, it was quite incredible. And I've got a couple of meetings next week, all based on the fact of demo night. So a huge thank you to Stu and the team for putting this together, actually, and opening up conversations that we perhaps wouldn't be able to have beforehand.
Oh, that's a lovely accolade. Well done, Stu.
Guys.
I just wanted to ask you a little bit about the funding journey that you've been on as well, because that's the other big barrier, isn't it, for startups? So you've got your research, you've got your passion, you're personally experienced the problem, which is tick, tick, tick. But then how do you get going? Where do you get the money from? And where are you now on your funding journey?
Oh God, it's something that I could talk about for hours, but I'll keep it brief.
You've got 2 minutes.
Yeah, it is incredibly, like a lot more difficult and took a lot longer than I ever could have imagined. And I'm quite a realist. I wouldn't say I'm very optimistic or very negative. So I was like, oh, I know it's going to take a while, but it just took double as long as I thought it would. I think why I started the community that I just mentioned was what I really realized was a lot of people asking, oh, but how much experience do you even have in the space? Or what do you even know about, starting a business? And it was definitely them almost attacking my age. I think gender is another thing. And just actually, I didn't really have a massive pre-existing network before. So you're trying to build up all of that, trying to build up trust, trying to make people take you seriously, and then raise money, and then actually get them to believe in you, believe in your product, and then actually give you the cash. Took quite a while. So I would say it's one of those journeys that you have to know. It almost feels like there's a game that you have to play, and you learn how to play the game during. And I don't know what I would really say about that game. But you learn a lot about yourself, about your business. And I think that's where you really learn how much you love your business. I know a lot of people have given up on their entire business whilst fundraising, because they said, you know what, I can't keep selling this day in, day out. I don't know if I believe in it anymore. Whereas for me, hearing my own voice and talking about my business every single day, about 5-10 times a day, I was like, actually, that's making me love it more. And each pitch got more and more passionate, because I was like, I am realizing that this is an even bigger issue that I've made it out to seem. So yeah, a weird and wonderful journey, a tiring one for sure. But we closed our pre-seed round at the end of March, and yeah, are now kind of taking a break from the fundraising world. We've got just over a year of runway, and we kind of might open our seed round, but maybe towards the end of the year, maybe next year. It's nothing that's set in stone, but taking it step by step.
Thanks. I mean, Stu, would you agree with that? I mean, fundraising is just really hard, and like Rita said, people give up because it's too difficult. I love the fact that it made you love your business more the more you talked about this. I think that must be the big decider, mustn't it, Stuart?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a rite of passage for sure. And these early stages of funding are much harder than the later stages of funding, because you've got less proof points. It's all a leap of faith, right? So the more you can bring of yourself, and the more the proof points you can bring, even the smallest ones along the way, the better you'll be. What's amazing in the UK is the SEIS tax structure and stuff gives some of the best liquidity pools there are in the world for this early stage stuff. So you've got some assets being here in the UK that are very unique. But at the end of the day, this rite of passage, this sorts things out quite a lot, because if you can't raise the money, you can't keep going. And you have to do a lot of these things. And right now in the marketplace, even with SEIS, it's one of the hardest times I've known in my career to raise money. So, hat tip to Rita for pulling this one off at this stage and moving forward with a great platform, which we have used and really enjoy as well. So
thank you.
Okay, so we're coming to the end of our chat, but before I let you go, Rita, I want to ask you what your top 3 tips are for any aspiring entrepreneur. What advice would you give to somebody who's thinking, I've got an idea, I wish I could do what Rita did?
I think number 1 is really understand if you absolutely love your idea. I think being an entrepreneur tests you at the best of times. So if you're not super passionate about it and actually want to do something with it and think that that's something that you can think about every minute of the day, whether you're in the shower or on holiday, don't go ahead and do it. There's other wonderful things that you can do without being an entrepreneur. Number 2 is really understand how you work best. I think when I started my journey, I kind of seen all that grind culture and hustle culture online that was like, oh, you need to, wake up at this time and just like work all night. I realized that I'm terrible at working in the evenings at night and I'm a massive early bird. So I do wake up ridiculously early, but that's when I start working and I finish quite early. And you know what? That's worked the best for me and done wonders for my business, and has stopped me, producing poor work at times that don't work for me. Quarter number 3 would be just have fun with it. I think, we take businesses so seriously, and actually you can really tell when somebody's having fun in their business and enjoying the journey, and learning a lot on the way.
Brilliant. Thanks, Rita. I think we can tell you're having fun because you've just got the most gorgeous smile on your face all the time. So love your idea, understand yourself, and have fun. What 3 brilliant tips there. Thank you very much. Stu, if anyone is listening and they would like to have the opportunity to pitch at Demo Night or to demo their product at Demo Night, because it's not a pitch night, is it? It's a place to come and get feedback on your product. What's the process for somebody to be able to join in?
I mean, the first stage, Sam, is to ask. It's as simple as that. So this is a zero barrier to entry. This is not a lock-in for City. This is open to everybody who wants to take part. We only have 3 to 5 spots, right? But so it begins with asking. Connect to us on the website or go in through City Ventures and say you're interested to do this. Then what we're looking for is people like Rita that grab the opportunity with both hands and go at it and really use that evening, as she did in December, she did this week, to the best possible benefit of what she's doing on her mission, right? And she learned and she progressed in between the sessions. She gave it a lot of energy, and she also found a way to do the most important thing, which we'd encourage everybody to do who gets on that stage, which she landed being her authentic self in front of a group of people she didn't know. That's the key to it. But we're looking for the I want to do it. We're looking for the light bulb bit, and then we'll help you do the rest. And then if you grab that opportunity with both hands, you're going to get an awful lot of resources, or an awful lot of peer support, an awful lot of new network opportunities off the back of it. So just reach out and ask.
Brilliant. Rita, would you recommend Demo Night to anybody out there who's an aspiring entrepreneur or startup?
Oh, absolutely. I couldn't recommend it enough. It definitely...
I've got to say that.
I mean, I do, but it's also... I was saying it on the day to our developer when we were finding these different bits, and I was like, now I'm looking at it from a bigger screen and a different perspective. I want to change X, Y, Z. So it gave us a lot of reflection tips as a team, but it also gives you a wonderful access to a brilliant community. So I've got to say it, but also it's something that I truly believe in, and I'm really excited about for other entrepreneurs that should take advantage of it as much as they can.
Oh, that's brilliant. Well, next month's Demo Night is an online international extravaganza, and it will be on Wednesday, the 9th of June. You can find out how to sign up for it and lots more free entrepreneurship support at cityventures.co.uk. And I think that's our time, really. So I'd just like to say congratulations, Rita. Been a pleasure to speak to you. Really looking forward to seeing how your business goes. Thanks, Stuart. I'll see you next month.
Thank you, Sam. And I would just like to say, as well as congratulations and thank you to Rita for doing this, right? Because you put a lot into this, and thank you so much for that. But just reflect, and I hope everybody who's seen the recording reflects as well. This is one of the highest order demo nights we've ever run in the history of Canopy. And you were voted by the audience to be their people's choice on the evening. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Yay.
Thank you very
You are
much.
a pioneering person in your own right.
Oh, thank you.